Other times, we follow the rules because we're afraid. We don't want to end up in HE double hockey sticks. I don't want to say that word in the holy place, of course, okay? But it's true. A lot of times we enter into that relationship with Jesus more because we are afraid and we don't want him to punish us. Is that really a relationship with Jesus? Being religious, yes, takes things to the next level. But again, if we're following Jesus, if we're entering into a relationship with him for all the wrong reasons, then we also end up in that same situation. Because that's the mistake of the people in the parable today. They are locked out, not because they did not know Jesus. They are locked out not because they weren't willing to be in a relationship with him, but perhaps they were in it for all the wrong reasons. Perhaps they were only wanting to hear from him because he gave them those words of comfort. Perhaps they were only willing to follow him because they were afraid. But again, the fact of the matter is, they are locked out because their relationship with Jesus was not true, was not real, was not personal, was not intimate. It was not the same as what Jesus wants us to have. God has told us so many times and in so many ways that he wants a relationship with us. He is in a relationship with us, and he wants us to recognize that as well. And so the question today is for us as we hear this gospel is, when we are looking for the narrow gate, we have to ask ourselves, what kind of relationship do we have with Jesus? What kind of relationship do we want? Do we know him? And are we striving to know him even more? Or do we simply know things about him? Again, keeping him at a certain distance, not wanting to be in a relationship with him, not investing our time and energy to be in a relationship with God. But if we say we want to be in a relationship with God, then how do we know? How do we know that we are actually striving to find that narrow gate? How do we know that we are in a relationship with God as much as he is with us? There's many ways that can help us determine this. But I just want to focus on one, and that is the small favors. Think about it. In any of our relationships, who are the people that we are willing to do small favors for? Because chances are, if we're willing to do a small favor for someone, it's because we are in a relationship with that person that is true, that is personable, that is real. The other day, a friend of mine called, bought a new house, wanted me to help him put furniture together. So I drove up north, got to his house. I probably was not very helpful because several times we had to take everything apart and put everything together, because I think I kept putting things backwards. So I don't know if I was much of a help, but again, I went, he asked, I went because there was a relationship there. Again, a small favor. Who are we willing to do that for? Because God has showed us many times that he's willing to do us those small favors. Another story. I was driving with my brother, and we were looking for a parking space. And a lot of times, I will say a prayer to find a parking spot. Do you know what it is? I will teach you. Hail Mary, full of grace, help me find a parking space. And my brother is in the passenger seat, and he looks at me and he's like, "You are so weird, dude." But immediately after I said that prayer, what happens? A space is opened up. And he's like, "Oh." God, in those ways, God shows us that he's willing to do those small favors, because a lot of times we may think, "Oh, that's just so weird, that's just so corny. Why are you asking the Virgin Mary to help you find a parking space?" Doesn't she have better things to do? Doesn't she have better things to take care of? Don't you think that she might want to help answer the prayers for world peace or whatever? But the saints come to us, and God comes to us in those moments and says, no, the reason why I've been willing to do those small favors is because I consider us to be in that kind of a relationship. That kind of relationship shows us that that connection is real, that connection is personal, that connection is intimate. That is the kind of relationship that Jesus wants with us. That's the kind of relationship that Jesus wants us to have with him. That is how we will be able to find the narrow door. That is how we will be able to know that getting through that narrow door is not as difficult as we think it would be. Are we willing to do those small favors for God? Because if we do those small favors for God, then yes, we are in a real relationship with him. And God, again, shows us he's willing to do us those small favors in helping us find simple things as a parking space. Are we willing to do the same for God? When God asks us for simple favors, like, let's be nice to someone, let's do something kind for somebody, let's do a generous act for someone. All of those, again, are small favors that God asks of us. If we're willing to do those things for him just as much as he is willing to do those small favors for us, then yes, again, we know that we are in a relationship with Jesus. And we know that because of that, we will find the narrow door. And we will be able to walk through that narrow door, and God will open the doors to the gates of heaven when we are knocking, because he will say to us, I know you. You know me. You don't just know things about me, but because we are in a real relationship, come into my house. That's where we want to end up. That's what ultimately is our destiny and is our goal. And so again, the question today is, what kind of relationship do we want with Jesus? Do we want to strive to know him? Or are we satisfied with just knowing things about him? Do we have that real relationship with him, where we strive to know who he is, just as well as he knows us, so that in that relationship, in that connection, we truly find the way through that narrow door? Otherwise, we may just miss that narrow door and miss our opportunity to share in the eternal life that only God can give to us.